Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It happened on a sweltering Saturday afternoon in Phoenix, the kind of day where the sun bakes your skin the moment you step outside. I was standing near the grill, flipping burgers with a cold beer in hand, surrounded by friends and neighbors at my buddy Steve's backyard birthday party. Music played low, kids darted between folding chairs, and the smell of charred meat hung in the air. It was supposed to be easy, familiar, safe. Megan, my wife, was sitting under the shade umbrella with her best friend Carly, sipping from a red plastic cup, her legs crossed like she owned the place. I caught her eye and smiled. "Hey," I said, walking over and leaning in to kiss her cheek. Before I could get close, she recoiled like I was diseased. "No, it's disgusting," she snapped loud. Sharp. The people around us went quiet. My hand froze midair. I blinked. "What?" I said. "Don't touch me," she hissed. "You reek of beer and sweat." "God, Daniel." Carly, halfway to tipsy, laughed too loud and leaned forward on the table. "I mean, if he needs someone to kiss, I don't mind," she giggled, flipping her blonde hair. "I like it." The entire table cracked up. Someone whistled. A neighbor coughed into his drink. I stood there, red-faced, staring at Megan. She didn't even look embarrassed. Just smug. Like humiliating me was the joke of the day. "What's your problem?" I asked, trying to keep my voice low. "It was just a kiss." "A hello." "My problem," Megan said, standing up and pointing her finger at me, "is that you act like we're still in high school. Grow up, Daniel." "Okay." Carly slurred, holding her hands up. "Let's all calm down. No need to kill the mood. Stay out of it," Megan snapped at her. "This isn't your relationship." "You made it my relationship when you started icing him out in public," Carly fired back, her tipsy playfulness gone. "Maybe I wouldn't have to if he knew how to act like a man instead of a shadow," Megan shot back. They were yelling now. People were staring. Steve's wife tried to step between them, but Megan pushed her hand away. Chairs scraped. Cups tipped. Someone muttered, "Yikes." I stood frozen, like I'd been dropped into a play I didn't audition for. All I could think about was how quickly this spiraled. 1 second, I was trying to show affection. The next, I was the punchline at my own expense. The air was thick, not just with heat, but shame. And in that moment, as Megan turned her back on me and stormed into the house, leaving whispers and awkward glances in her wake, I realized something that shook me. This wasn't just a bad day. This was the beginning of something unraveling. I wasn't sure what yet, but I was going to find out. We were about halfway down Bell Road when the silence finally cracked. I was gripping the steering wheel so tightly that the old leather wraps squeaked under my knuckles. Dust swirled in through the cracked window, the dry Phoenix air clinging to everything like guilt you couldn't wash off. Megan sat in the passenger seat, arms folded tight, staring out her window like I didn't exist. I cleared my throat. "I didn't mean to embarrass you," I said, steady as I could manage. "I was just trying to kiss my wife. That's not a crime." She didn't answer, so I tried again. "Seriously, Megan, in front of everyone? What was that about?" She let out a sharp breath through her nose and finally turned to face me. "What was that about?" she echoed, her voice thick with sarcasm. "You smelled like smoke and beer. You always smell like something, Daniel." My jaw tensed. I kept my eyes on the road. I grilled 3 dozen burgers in a 100-degree backyard. "Sorry if I didn't have time to freshen up with lavender mist." "You think this is funny?" she snapped. "You're always playing the victim, acting like every time I call you out, I'm the bad guy." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cuss. I just leaned in. "That's it. And you?" I paused, shaking my head. "You acted like I spit on you." She rolled her eyes so hard I could feel the heat off them. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not dramatic," I said, quieter now, almost to myself. "I'm just tired of being treated like a joke." She huffed, leaning forward and adjusting the AC vent like she was trying to tune me out. "Then maybe stop giving people material." I let that one hang. It stung more than it should have. I watched the sun slide down the horizon through the windshield. The light stretched long across the cracked road. Even the truck seemed quieter than usual, like it was holding its breath too. "You know Carly crossed a line too, right?" I said after a while. "That comment she made?" "Carly's harmless," Megan muttered. She was joking. It wasn't a joke to me. "Oh my God, Daniel. Not everything's a federal case. You always take everything so personal." I gritted my teeth. "And you never take anything personal, do you?" I said. You just throw words like darts and then act shocked when someone bleeds. She didn't answer, but her jaw clenched. Hard. You humiliated me, I said, quieter now. I don't know what's going on with you lately, but it feels like you hate me. And I'm still here, trying. You don't try, she said coldly. You coast. You come home, crack a beer, watch your shows, and act like that's enough. Like showing up is trying. I stared ahead. We were nearly home. Don't think you're the queen here, I muttered under my breath. And just like that, boom. She snapped toward me, her eyes blazing. Excuse me. I didn't answer. I just pressed harder on the gas. The engine groaned. No, say it again, she said. Go on, Daniel. Say it like a man this time. I already said it, I growled. You think I'm on some throne? That I like putting you down? You sure act like it. She let out a bitter laugh and sank back into her seat, arms folded again. You're pathetic, she whispered. We didn't speak the rest of the way home. The silence didn't just fill the truck, it swallowed it whole. The kind of silence that pressed down on your chest and made it hard to breathe. Every bump in the road echoed louder than usual. Every second ticked by like punishment. When I finally turned onto our street, the porch lights of the neighbors' houses glowed soft and yellow. Familiar. Peaceful. Our house sat at the corner of the block. Same cracked driveway. Same crooked mailbox. But it looked different tonight, like even it was ashamed of us. I parked the truck. She didn't wait for me to kill the engine. Just opened the door, grabbed her purse, and marched up the walkway without a word. I watched her disappear into the house. And for a moment, I just sat there in the driver's seat, hand still gripping the key in the ignition, heart heavy as concrete. There was a time she used to reach for my hand in moments like this. A time we would have talked it out before the night got cold. But that time had passed. And now? Now it was just dust, distance, and silence. The house was dead quiet, except for the TV murmuring in the background, some rerun of a cooking show I wasn't even watching. I sat there on the couch, elbows on my knees, remote in one hand, but I hadn't clicked a button in 20 minutes. My eyes flicked toward the screen, but I couldn't absorb a single thing. Upstairs, a door slammed. Then another. Then footsteps. Fast. Stomping from one end of the hallway to the other, like she wanted me to hear every single step she took. I didn't move. Didn't shout back. Didn't ask what her problem was. I just sat there, numb, staring through the screen like it was a window into a world that made sense. A world where people talked like they meant it, where a kiss wasn't treated like an insult. Another door slammed. I flinched that time. Just a little. The Arizona heat outside hadn't let up, but inside, everything felt cold. Not the kind of cold you fix with a blanket, the kind that settles behind your ribs and makes you feel like you forgot something important and can't remember what. My fingers tightened on the remote. She said I smelled bad. I muttered to myself, like saying it out loud would make it make sense. All I did was try to kiss her. And yet, the shame from earlier at the party still burned behind my eyes. The way people stared. The way Carly laughed. The way Megan didn't flinch. Like she wanted me to be the fool. I shook my head, staring down at the worn lines in the coffee table, the scratches from old pizza boxes and spilled soda cans. This was our home. I built it with her, piece by piece. Every throw pillow, every stupid paint color we argued over, it was all us. It used to mean something. Now it felt like a stranger's living room. I heard her closet door slam again. Then silence. Then the soft thump of a drawer being yanked open, followed by another. She's doing it on purpose, I said, rubbing the bridge of my nose. Just then, footsteps approached the stairs. She paused halfway down. I could hear it, then retreated. Not a word. Not even a glance into the room. I should have gone up. Asked her what she wanted. Demanded to know what changed. But the truth was, I didn't have it in me. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was just tired. Confused. Like I'd been dropped into a version of my life where all the rules had been rewritten without telling me. She used to smile when I walked through the door. She used to lean into my touch, not recoil from it like it made her skin crawl. I tried to replay the last few weeks in my head. Had I done something wrong? Missed an anniversary? Said something I shouldn't have? But it all blurred together. She'd been distant for months. Colder. But tonight? Tonight was cruel. And it didn't feel like a mistake. I stared back at the TV, where a chef was flambeing some fancy dessert, the flames dancing in slow motion. I couldn't hear a word of the narration. My mind was too full of static. What had I done that was so repulsive? Or worse, What had she done that she was now trying to cover with all this noise? Another door shut upstairs, softer this time. The couch groaned under my weight as I leaned back. I closed my eyes. Let the flickering light of the television play across my eyelids. I didn't know what tomorrow would look like, but I knew one thing for sure. Something was breaking, and I was the only one still pretending it wasn't shattered. It was the next evening, just after sunset, when she dropped it like it was nothing. "I'm going out," Megan said from the kitchen, already scrolling on her phone. I was at the table, half eating leftovers, half lost in my thoughts. I looked up. Out where? She didn't look at me. Downtown. Club. That word landed wrong. A club? I repeated. On a Sunday night? She finally glanced up, irritation already loaded in her eyes. "Yes, Daniel. A club. You don't need to interrogate me." "I'm not interrogating," I said evenly. "I'm asking. After last night, you think disappearing into a club is a great idea?" She scoffed. "Oh, here we go? You're not my father." "I'm your husband," I shot back. "And no, you're not going." Her head snapped up. "Excuse me." "You heard me," I said, my voice calm but firm. "You're not going out like that while we're barely speaking. Not after humiliating me yesterday." She laughed, sharp, mocking. "Wow, so now you're controlling too?" "This isn't control," I said. "This is called dealing with what's happening in this house." "What's happening?" she said, stepping closer. "Is you're trying to tell me what I can and can't do." "I'm trying to stop us from completely blowing up," I replied. For once. She shook her head, disbelief dripping off every movement. "You don't get to forbid me from anything." I just did. That was it. Her face hardened. "Who do you think you are?" "I'm the guy you embarrassed in front of 20 people, I said. "The guy you treat like furniture. And I'm done pretending that's okay." She stared at me for a long second, then smiled, cold. "You're unbelievable," she said quietly. "You think raising your voice makes you strong?" "I'm not raising my voice," I said. "I'm standing my ground." She turned away abruptly. "I'm not having this conversation." "We're having it," I said, "whether you like it or not." She spun back around. "You want honesty? Fine. I'm bored. I'm suffocating. And you sitting there acting righteous is not helping." "Then talk to me," I said. "Not strangers in a dark room." She grabbed her phone off the counter. "I don't need your permission to breathe." With that, she stormed past me, up the stairs, each step louder than the last. The bedroom door slammed so hard the walls rattled. I stood there, waiting for the familiar itch, the urge to follow, to knock, to apologize for something I didn't even understand, to smooth it over just to make the tension stop. But it didn't come. Instead, I grabbed my keys. I walked out the front door, got into my truck, and drove to the corner bar. Ordered one beer. Just one. No texts. No calls. For the first time in a long time, I didn't chase. And somehow, that changed everything. The next morning found me at Troy's auto shop on Van Buren, the place smelling like oil, rubber, and burned coffee. Familiar, grounding. The radio hummed classic rock in the background while Troy leaned under the hood of a lifted Silverado, wrench in hand. He glanced over at me. "You look like hell." "Good morning to you too," I said, setting my coffee down on a workbench. "No, I mean it," he added. "You got that 1,000-yard stare. Something's off." I sighed and leaned against the bench. Megan and I had another blow-up. Troy slid out from under the hood, wiping his hands on a rag. Define blow-up. "She humiliated me at a party. Publicly," I said, then acted like I deserved it. He froze. "She what?" I nodded. "Wouldn't let me kiss her. Called it disgusting. In front of everyone." "Man," Troy muttered. "That's rough." I tried to talk it out. She twisted it. Like always. Troy tossed the rag aside. "Okay, but here's the real question. Has she been doing this long? Or is this new?" "That's the thing," I said. "It's been building. Distance. Snide comments. Like she's annoyed by my existence." He scratched his jaw. "Sounds like she's starving for attention." I frowned. "From me?" "From anyone," he said bluntly. "Some people don't want peace. They want a reaction. Makes them feel wanted." I shook my head. "I've been trying. Dinners. Checking in. Being present." "And did she notice?" I hesitated. "Not really." Troy nodded slowly. "Then she's not chasing love, man. She's chasing validation." "That doesn't make it hurt less," I said. "No," he agreed. "But it might explain why she's poking you." I stared at the concrete floor. "Last night, she said she was going clubbing. I told her no." Troy's eyebrows shot up. You told her no? Yeah, I said. And I didn't chase her when she stormed off. He let out a low whistle. That's new. I know, I said quietly. And I don't know if that makes me hopeful or terrified. Troy leaned against the toolbox. Listen to me. You pulling back? That changes things. People like control. When it slips, they notice. So what? I just stopped caring. No, he said. You stop begging. That landed hard. She needs to see you're not an accessory, he continued. You're a person, with limits. I nodded slowly. I don't want to lose her. I know, Troy said. But losing yourself won't save the marriage either. The shop door rolled open as a customer walked in. Troy clapped me on the shoulder. Whatever she's doing, he said, make her explain it. Don't explain yourself. I picked up my coffee, suddenly cold. You really think this is about attention? I think, Troy said carefully. She likes knowing you'll always be there, no matter how she treats you. I swallowed. And for the first time, the thought crept in that maybe the problem wasn't what I wasn't doing, but what I was tolerating. The next few days, I gave it a shot. I mean, really gave it a shot. Troy's words had gotten to me. Maybe she was starving for validation. Maybe I'd been coasting. I didn't want to believe the worst about her, not yet. So I decided to stop reacting and start doing. Not the routine stuff, not the autopilot chores or quick kisses before bed. Real effort. Monday night, I made dinner, set the table, lit candles, cooked that lemon chicken thing she used to ask for when we were first married. Megan came home late, still in heels, her bag slung over one shoulder, hair tied back tight like she'd been in a meeting war zone. She paused at the doorway, confused. What is this? Dinner, I said, motioning toward the table. For us. She blinked. Did I forget something? No, I said. You didn't forget anything. She walked over slowly, set her purse down, and sat. Not a smile. Not a thank you. Just a look. That polite, suspicious kind people give salesmen at the door. We ate in silence. I tried conversation, work, weekend plans, a movie we could see, but she barely nodded, barely looked up. She didn't touch her wine. And halfway through the meal, she got up and dumped her plate in the sink. It was fine, she said before heading upstairs. Just not really hungry. Fine. Not really hungry. I stood there, still holding my fork, hearing that damn faucet run upstairs. But I didn't quit. Tuesday, I brought home her favorite coffee. Left it on the counter with a note. For the mornings that feel heavier than they should. She didn't mention it. Wednesday, I planned a weekend getaway to Sedona. Booked the cabin we stayed in once, 5 years ago, the one with the red rock view and the fire pit she used to call her favorite little place on earth. I showed her the reservation on my phone. She skimmed it, then asked, "Can we even afford this right now?" I blinked. "It's already booked." She handed me back the phone. "You should have asked." She walked off. That night, I stayed up late, sitting on the back porch with a beer, trying to remind myself why I started all this. The stars were sharp and cold above the Phoenix desert sky. I remembered when we used to sit out there together, legs tangled, swatting mosquitoes, whispering about places we'd go one day. Now I couldn't get 5 minutes of eye contact. Thursday, I went for the heart. I remembered something she told me on our second anniversary, how yellow tulips reminded her of her mom, of spring in Nebraska, of home. So I stopped by a flower stand on my way home from work. Bought the brightest bunch of yellow tulips they had, wrapped in brown paper, a simple ribbon. I even remembered to grab a vase. When I walked through the door, Megan was in the living room, scrolling on her tablet. "Hey," I said gently. "Brought you something." She looked up, then at the flowers. Her expression didn't soften. I held them out to her. "You once said these made you smile." She stared for a moment, then laughed. Actually laughed, bitter, like I'd just handed her a dead rat. I said that. "God, Daniel, that was years ago." "They're still beautiful," I said. She rolled her eyes, snatched the bouquet, walked straight into the kitchen, and shoved the entire thing, vase and all, into the trash can. "I hate tulips," she said. The lid slammed shut. My heart sank. Something hot and dull settled in my chest, like embarrassment mixed with grief. "You didn't have to do that," I said quietly. "Oh, please," she muttered. "You're trying to buy peace. That's not romance." "I'm trying to show you I still care." "By buying dead flowers?" she snapped. "Daniel, grow up." I took a breath. "Every time I try," I said, "you shove it back in my face." "Because it's pathetic," she said, voice rising. "All this sudden effort. You think a few coffee cups and vacation plans fix everything? No, I said firmly. I think love deserves to be fought for, even if it looks stupid. Well then, congratulations, she said, stepping closer, her tone ice cold. You look very, very stupid. I stood there, fists clenched at my sides. Megan, I said, what do you want from me? She didn't answer, just turned away, walked upstairs, didn't slam the door this time, just closed it gently, like she was too tired to make noise. And I stood there, surrounded by the silence she left behind, wondering how it was possible for a man to feel both furious and invisible at the same time. If you're enjoying the story, please hit the like button. Morning sunlight poured through the kitchen blinds, warm and golden, the kind of light that once made our home feel alive. Today, it just made the silence louder. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around a mug of untouched coffee, eyes locked on the hallway, waiting for her. When Megan finally appeared, she looked composed. Fresh makeup, smooth blouse, hair curled like she was heading to brunch with the governor, not recovering from tearing her husband in half the night before. I stood. She glanced at me, confused. What? I didn't answer right away, just studied her face. Megan, I said, is there someone else? That froze her. For the briefest second, and I mean barely, something flickered in her eyes. Then her face hardened, lips parting like she couldn't believe I had the nerve. What did you just say? I'm asking, I said, stepping closer. Are you seeing someone? She let out a breathy, stunned laugh. Wow, that's what this is. You think I'm cheating? I don't think anything, I said. I'm asking for the truth. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. You're insane. Answer the question. I can't believe you'd even go there, she snapped, her voice already cracking. After everything? After all the stress I've been under? I didn't say a word. I just watched. And right on cue, the tears came. Big, shaky, dramatic tears, the kind that used to melt me. Her hands went to her face, mascara smudging as her voice trembled. God, Daniel, you think I'm the villain? You think I've been sneaking around? She looked up, eyes glassy. I have been trying. I've been trying to stay sane in this dead house. I tilted my head. That's not a no. She gasped, hands dropping. You're disgusting. You're accusing me with nothing. I have a house full of silence and contempt, I said. I have cold dinners and colder mornings. I have a wife who throws flowers in the trash and walks around like I'm some burden she can't shake off. That's not nothing. Her tone sharpened. So that means I'm sleeping around? I didn't say that, I said. I asked. And your answer says everything. You don't know what you're talking about, she hissed. Then prove it, I said. Look me in the eyes and tell me you're not seeing someone. She froze, then blinked. I don't have to justify my life to you, she snapped. That was it. I turned on my heel and walked upstairs. Went straight to the closet, grabbed the smallest suitcase she owned, the leopard print one she used for girls' weekends, and started tossing things in. No folding, no organizing, just clothes, thrown in one after another. She followed me seconds later, voice rising. What the hell are you doing? I zipped the suitcase. Giving you a head start. Daniel, you are not doing this. But I was. I walked past her, down the stairs, through the living room, and out the front door. Set the suitcase right on the porch like a package waiting for pickup. She came out after me, barefoot and furious. Are you out of your mind? No, I said. I'm out of patience. She looked stunned. Not hurt, not truly. Just stunned. Like someone whose bluff had finally been called. I stepped back inside, closed the door, and for the first time in weeks, the air in the house felt just a little bit lighter. I didn't want to follow her. I told myself that a dozen times as I watched her climb into her car that Friday evening, dressed sharper than usual, heels, lipstick, blouse buttoned just low enough to be intentional. She hadn't said where she was going. She rarely did anymore. But something about the way she looked at her phone before pulling out of the driveway, the little smirk, the tiny bite of her lip, it twisted something in me. So I got in my truck and tailed her. Not close. Not obvious. A few car lengths back, just enough to stay invisible in the downtown traffic. She drove with purpose, past the strip malls, past the usual grocery store, past the turn for Carly's place. That's when my chest tightened. Because there was only one reason to head this far into the city at this hour, and it wasn't for errands. She turned onto East Roosevelt, right into a gated complex, sleek and modern, balconies lined with potted palms and Edison bulb string lights. Expensive, quiet, Clean. I parked across the street, engine off, eyes locked on the front entrance. She got out of the car, checked her hair in the mirror, then walked right up to the entrance like she'd done it a dozen times before. A man opened the door before she even knocked. Mid-30s, maybe. Clean cut. Athletic. Wearing a casual black tee like he wasn't trying, but still looked good doing it. And then, he hugged her. Not just a polite hug. Not a side hug. A full, slow pull-in, hand on her back, cheek against her hair. She melted into it. I felt my fingers tighten around the steering wheel so hard I thought it might snap. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I just stared, trying to convince myself I was seeing it wrong. That it was an old friend. A cousin. A coworker. Something. But my gut already knew. They disappeared into the building. The door closed behind them. And I sat there. In my truck. For 30 minutes. Not moving. Not thinking. Just shaking. Like my body had figured it out before my mind could catch up. I kept telling myself to leave. Drive away. Be smarter. But all that did was make my stomach turn harder. I reached for the door handle before I realized I'd made a decision. My boots hit the pavement like they belonged there. I crossed the street, walked up to the building, and buzzed apartment 3C. No plan. No speech. No filter. The second the intercom clicked, I spoke. It's Daniel. Silence. Then a buzz. The lock clicked. And I pushed the door open. The hallway was clean, quiet, and smelled like lemon polish. I found the door. Took a breath. Then knocked. Twice. Heavy. Final. I heard footsteps behind it. Quick. Hesitant. The door opened, and everything changed. The door creaked open, and for a second, she didn't say anything. Megan's face drained of color the moment she saw me standing there. No makeup in the world could cover that kind of panic. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Behind her, he stood up from the couch, same guy from before. Now up close. I could see the confusion in his face. No fear at first, just cluelessness. Daniel? She said, breathless. What are you doing here? I didn't answer. I just stepped across the threshold. Her hand came up like a reflex. You can't just walk in. I just did. The guy's voice cut in. Wait, who is this? I turned toward him. You don't know? I asked, calm, quiet, but my chest was pounding. He looked between us. She said she was single. Single, I repeated. I looked at Megan. Is that what you've been saying? Daniel, she started, voice trembling. It's not what you think. Don't, I said. Just don't. I've been watching this fall apart piece by piece. Now I know why. The guy looked stunned. You're married? Megan turned, cornered. It's complicated. He stepped back like he'd touched a live wire. You told me you were divorced. I said we were separated. We weren't, I cut in. We were under the same roof. I was cooking for you, bringing you flowers, trying to keep the damn wheels on. The guy held up his hands. Look, man, I didn't know. I swear. I wouldn't have. I believe you, I said. And I meant it. He was just the placeholder. The symptom. The lie stood next to me, shaking. But then he added something that lit the fuse. She said you didn't care about her. Megan flinched. I snapped. My fist connected with his jaw before I could even think. One swing. Clean. His head snapped sideways, and he stumbled back, catching himself on the edge of the couch. Megan screamed. Daniel, stop. He held his face, stunned, but didn't come at me. You're crazy. Get out, I growled at her. Get out. You don't get to tell me where to go. I do when you lie your way into another man's bed while wearing my ring. We were yelling now. She was crying. The guy was shouting that he didn't want trouble. A neighbor from the hall poked their head out, then ducked back in and shut their door fast. Minutes later, we all heard it. Sirens. Someone had called. The knock on the apartment door wasn't gentle. Phoenix PD, open up. Megan froze. The guy looked at me like I was a bomb about to go off again. I stepped back and raised both hands. I'll open it. 2 officers walked in, body cams blinking red. I could see myself reflected in the dark glass, flushed, sweaty, breathing hard. Sir, what's going on here? I nodded toward the guy. I hit him. Why? He's sleeping with my wife, I said plainly. The room went silent. The officer looked at Megan. Is that true, ma'am? She didn't answer. The officer looked to the guy. You pressing charges? He rubbed his jaw, winced, but shook his head. No. I didn't know. One cop pulled me aside. You need to leave the property, sir. If there's no charges, we'll let it be, but this doesn't happen again. Understood? I nodded. Understood. Before I stepped out, I looked at Megan one last time. Her eyes were red. Her arms crossed tight, like she was holding herself together. You could have told the truth, I said quietly. But you chose this. She didn't reply. She didn't have to. The body cam light blinked between us, silent witness to the moment her whole lie collapsed. And then I walked out, past the cops, past the man she tried to replace me with, and down the hall that no longer felt like a place of answers. Outside, the air hit cold, but for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. 3 weeks later, we were in court. Not a packed room, just a quiet, gray space that smelled like paper and disinfectant. 2 attorneys. A judge. Megan sat across from me in a blazer too formal for who she was now, lips pressed in a thin line. No eye contact. The judge skimmed over the documents with that detached, calm judges are famous for: financial records, timelines, written statements, and yes, the footage. The officer's body cam from that night, submitted without argument. The words were all clinical. Evidence of emotional negligence, intentional concealment, uncontested admission of infidelity. But it wasn't clinical to me. This was our whole life. Our years, our home, the wedding photos still tucked in boxes, being dissected in tidy bullet points. The judge looked up from the file. Mr. Whitmore, under Arizona law, the court acknowledges the impact of spousal infidelity on marital dissolution. Based on testimony, documented evidence, and the absence of contest, she paused. This court grants full asset retention to the petitioner. The respondent, Mrs. Whitmore, relinquishes claim to shared property and spousal support. Megan shifted in her seat. For the first time, her mask cracked. Not anger, not defiance. Just emptiness. The judge continued. Custody is not applicable. No minors involved. Divorce finalized effective immediately. That was it. A gavel. A nod. Done. Outside the courtroom, I stepped into the Arizona heat. The sky was pale, cloudless, stretching wide and silent. As I waited for the paperwork, I saw Megan alone at the far end of the plaza. She wasn't crying, just scrolling through her phone like she could scroll out of her own life. Then he showed up, the guy from the apartment. Dressed sharp, jaw still a little swollen. He didn't walk to her. He stopped 10 feet away, looked her in the eye, and said just loud enough for me to hear, "We're done, Megan. You should have told me the truth from the beginning." She opened her mouth. He turned and walked off. She watched him leave. Didn't call after him. Didn't move. Just stood there. Alone. It was a quiet Sunday morning when I saw her again. I was at Gracie's Cafe, this little spot tucked between a laundromat and a thrift store. The kind of place that never tried too hard. I like that. The coffee came in thick mugs, the booths squeaked, and the regulars all looked like they'd known each other since high school. I was halfway through my second cup when someone cleared their throat beside me. "Guess I owe you an apology," a voice said. I looked up. Carly. Her hair was pulled into a loose braid. No makeup, hoodie over jeans. Nothing like the loud, half-drunk version from that party weeks ago. She smiled, but it was small. "Careful." "Hey," I said, surprised but not unwelcoming. "Didn't expect to see you." She slid into the booth across from me without waiting for permission. I was grabbing a muffin to go. Then I saw you and figured, maybe it's time I say something. I tilted my head. "Say what?" She glanced down at her coffee, then back at me. "Back at the party. That joke I made? The kiss thing? It was dumb. I was drunk and honestly, I was trying to cover for how cruel Megan had just been. I saw the look on your face, Daniel. You didn't deserve that." I sat back, arms folded. "Thanks." Took a while to admit that to myself. Carly nodded. "I used to think Megan was just complicated. You know, layered. But now?" She shook her head. She liked having people orbit her. Made her feel important. "I know," I said. "I spent years spinning." There was a pause. Then Carly smiled again, a little more real this time. "So now what?" I smirked. "Now I drink this coffee and pretend I've got it all figured out." She laughed softly. "Well, if you ever want company for pretending, I'm usually off Wednesdays." I met her eyes. There was no flirtation, no expectation, just 2 people who'd seen the same storm from different windows and finally found dry ground. "Wednesdays," I said, "might be my new favorite day." And that was the end of my story. Carly once said she stayed quiet for too long while Megan treated people like stepping stones. But when everything collapsed, she finally spoke up. "Do you think she did the right thing by waiting until the end? Or should she have said something sooner? Let me know in the comments. And if this story hit something real for you, give it a like and subscribe for more.